Thank you very much. I presented yesterday my annual report to the third committee. It covered different issues. In terms of thematic issues, I was focusing on the nexus between climate change, its effects, and internal displacement. And I was also reporting about my activities. What I would like to do now is not so much to focus on the report, even though your questions are welcome to any of the aspects I covered. I rather would like to talk about two events, activities I undertook before I came to New York. I carried out a mission to Somalia 12 days ago, and I also attended the summit of the African Union in Kampala, where a EU convention on the protection and assistance for IDPs was adopted. Let me start with the African Convention. This is really a historic event for a simple reason. If you're looking at the present human rights conventions, then humanitarian law, the fact is we don't have any binding specific treaty on internally displaced persons, unlike for refugees, even though we are talking about much larger numbers. We're talking about roughly 16 million refugees worldwide, including Palestinian refugees. We're talking about 26 million internally displaced persons just displaced by armed conflict, and an unknown number. Last year the estimate was 36 million displaced by the consequences of natural disasters, all kinds of natural disasters, a huge number of people who need protection of their rights, a huge number of people who need humanitarian assistance to address their specific vulnerabilities. The African Union, for the first time in history, now has managed to adopt a binding instrument on the protection and assistance of internally displaced persons for the African continent. It is an important convention because it acknowledges the responsibility of states to look after these people, to protect and assist them in a comprehensive way. The notion that is embodied in the convention covers everyone who has to leave or flee involuntarily his house, his home, his village, and does not cross an internationally recognized border. The convention covers all phases of displacement, prevention of displacement, protection during displacement, but then also the phase of people going back, integrating, reintegrating, the phase of durable solutions. The convention covers all causes of displacement, not only armed conflict and violence, but also natural disasters, including the effects of climate change. And it does not set out a list of rights of people, which is important, but they are already flowing from general human rights guarantees. It sets out very comprehensively the obligations of governments, but also of other stakeholders, the role of the African Union, the role of international humanitarian actors. The big challenge now, of course, is implementation. It will take time, and I've appealed to the international community to really support, assist the African countries in the implementation of this convention. Somalia. Somalia is one of the situations where the situation of internally displaced persons is particularly bad, and it's worsening. On the one hand, and we are talking about a country with 1.5 million internally displaced persons, on the one hand, the number of newly displaced has gone up, 300,000 last year, big number around 100,000 this year of newly displaced people, mainly coming from the Mogadishu, Kismayo area. But we also have people displaced by the effects of drought, their livestock being dead, having no other alternative than to join the IDPs in their settlements. I visited Puntland and Somaliland, was talking to internally displaced persons, to those who have been recently displaced. I was really shocked about the degree of violence taking place. Very often when I go to conflict areas, people tell me we fled because of general insecurity. Here we met so many people who themselves had experienced violence. Their house was shelled, family members being killed, they were caught up in crossfire, or family members killed in crossfire. Others received death threat. We were also talking to women who had been raped in their houses, militiamen breaking into the house. They experience dangers when they are on flight. And when they arrive, it's in very makeshift camps in areas that are really overburdened by arrivals. If you go to a place like Bosaso, you see the shelters, the improvised shelters of these people everywhere, along the streets, small squares filled up in backyards of houses. And the local authorities very convincingly told us it's becoming too much of a burden. We need help, we need assistance. The humanitarian needs, the protection needs are huge. At the same time, donor contributions have gone down considerably since the last year, despite the increasing problems. And I do feel the international community needs to do more. What is needed is to address accountability. There is a total climate of impunity regarding those who are responsible for the displacement. We need to do more in terms of humanitarian assistance, helping these people in need, protecting them against threats also in the camps. Again, sexual gender-based violence is a big issue in the camps I visited in Puntland and in Somaliland. But we also need to do more in terms of development interventions. To help and assist the host communities means to bring water and sanitation to these urban areas. It means to strengthen the health systems, the educational system. It means to provide for livelihoods. All of this would be contributions to strengthen the resilience of the people. Desperate people can be easily recruited by extremists. So there is also a security dimension to strengthening the humanitarian and development assistance to those areas that are accessible. And still many areas in Somalia are accessible. Finally, many of the IDPs, the local authorities told me, we feel that we are neglected by the international community. We are not getting what others get in similar situations. And I must say, I tend to agree. There are two reasons for that. The first reason is the issue is not high enough up, enough high up on the agenda of the international community. It's a neglected situation. But second, it's also the problem of access, of humanitarian access because of security reasons. It's also the fact that most of the UN operations are situated in Nairobi and not in Somalia. And I feel at least some of these operations should be moved to Somalia. Maybe not Mogadishu. You can't provide humanitarian aid out of a green zone. But there are parts in Somalia, in Puntland, Somalia, border areas between Puntland, South Central Somalia, where a presence is already there that could be reinforced. But also what is needed is more support from the donors, from traditional donors, from new donors, because even under the difficult present circumstances, UN colleagues on the ground tell me we could do much, much more would we have the means. And only with all these different interventions, I think we could claim that the international community is not failing the 1.5 million IDPs in Somalia. Thank you.